So I guess we can begin. Good evening and welcome to the Liveable YXE Mayoral Forum. As we gather here today, I would like to welcome you to Treaty 6 territory and the homeland of the Métis. We pay our respects to First Nations and Métis ancestors and reaffirm our relationship with one another. My name is Sandra Fraser and I'm a spokesperson with Liveable YXE. Liveable YXE is a grassroots organization led by a group of volunteers with a particular interest in creating a platform to raise issues of a healthy, equitable, and vibrant urban life in the context of this civic election in particular. Since early in 2016, we've consulted with well over a dozen advocacy and activist groups in Saskatoon. And I'd like to list some of our partners because I think that will give you a sense of the scope and the depth of the work that we're doing with Liveable YXE. So among our partners, we have In Motion, Jane's Walk, Saskatoon Food Bank and Learning Center, Saskatoon Psychos, Saskatchewan Arts Alliance, Car Free YXE, Saskatchewan Waste Reduction Council, Climate Justice Saskatoon, Saskatoon Anti-Poverty Coalition, Bus Riders of Saskatoon, Northeast Whale Watchers, Professors Ryan Walker and Ben Fawcett from the U of S Department of Geography and Planning. Last week, we launched a report card on our website, liveableyxe.ca, where 35 out of the 40 candidates for mayor and for councillor responded to questions on 11 themes. I think that you'll find it a great resource for assessing all of the candidates. It's not a light read. These are not sound bites. You need to sit down and dig in. And as you assess these responses, it may encourage you to pose questions of your own when you meet the candidates at different events or at your doorstep. So tonight we are so pleased to have the 4 candidates for running for mayor here with us: Don Atkinson, Charlie Clark, Kelly Moore, and Devin Hine. Thank you so much for making the time. We know how busy you are and how many of these events you've been going to, and we really appreciate you coming tonight. I also want to thank the candidates who are here for the meet and greet at 6 o'clock, and we certainly know how busy all the ward candidates are as well, and some have left to go to other forums and to continue knocking on doors. So I really would just like to show a round of applause for all the people running for election. So tonight's forum will be moderated by Dr. Danielle Béland, who's a professor at the Johnson Shoyama School of Public Policy at the University of Saskatchewan. And Dr. Béland, I'll hand the forum over to you, and he will explain how tonight is going to unfold. I think you'll be excited about it.
Good evening. Well, I'm the moderator, so I will tell you what the rules are. Good evening. First of all, the candidates will introduce themselves. They will have 2 minutes each, and we'll go in alphabetical order, so Atchison, Clark, Hine, and Moore. Then I will ask 16 prepared questions, which the candidates have received in advance. 2 candidates selected at random will be asked to provide a response to each question. After both chosen candidates have responded, the 2 remaining candidates have the opportunity to jump in for the third response by tossing their poker chip into their cup. So you will see they have 2 cups, one for water and one to throw their poker chips in. I hope they won't throw the poker chips into the water. That's so you have to be careful here. And the first one who does that will throw the poker chip into the empty glass. Will have 45 seconds to speak about this. And so in the end, they will all answer 12 questions in total because they only have 4 chips each, okay? And after we are done with these 16 questions, we may have time for some questions from the floor. And we have microphones on both sides here up front. So I will let the candidates introduce themselves, and we start with Don Atchison. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. On October 26th, you have a choice between strong leadership or risk Saskatoon's future on inexperience. A lot of you know me as the mayor for the past 13 years, but I just want to tell you a little bit about our family itself. Mardell and I, we have 5 children and 12 grandchildren. My dad worked on the railway. He was part of the union movement. My mom was in real estate. I played professional hockey, and I value the lessons that I learned there. A lot of those lessons were about determination, teamwork, building partnerships. And I followed through with that all the way through on council and my entire life. Without my parents and my wife Mardell, I wouldn't be here today. They've been really wonderful people behind the scenes. I think that a lot of things have happened in our community over the past few years. And I'd just like to remind you a bit about that. Circle Drive South Bridge, the Parkway commuter, the traffic bridge today, River Landing, the Shaw Centre, SaskTel Centre. Over $1 billion basically has come to Saskatoon in the past 13 years. And I'm glad I've been able to be part of that. That's what teamwork and building relationships does. I think the city of Saskatoon has a great future. I think the next 4 years are critical. We're going to be talking about our vision, actual details on what we believe and where the city should go. Yes, everyone wants the city to be better. I don't know of anyone that doesn't want a better city. Who doesn't want change? I've been leading positive change here for the past 13 years. 90,000 people have moved to Saskatoon. That's more people that live in Prince Albert and Moose Jaw. 50,000 jobs. More jobs than people that live in Prince Albert once again. There's a lot of great things that are happening in our community. There are so many different areas that we need to talk about. And tonight I look forward to dealing with those issues with you. So on October 26th, please vote Atchison. Thanks ever so much.
Charlie Clark.
Well, hi everybody, and thank you for having all of us here, and thank you very much to all the organizations who have come together to form Liveable YXE. I heard the list of all of you who have been working to bring this together, but I also know all of the work and effort that goes into the initiatives that you are working on as volunteers to make this a better city. I am running for mayor because I know that we can become a better city, and I have learned in my 10 years as a councillor about the people in the city, about the passion that lies in the city, and I love cities. I know that ultimately when you're involved in governing a city, you get to determine and shape the quality of life for a community, and that is a very powerful opportunity that any of us have who are civic leaders. And through my last 10 years as a councillor, working with many of you and many other people in this city, I have seen the potential that lies here. I've seen the talent that lies here. I've seen the passion that lies here. And I've seen that we're perched in a moment where we need to get a number of things right. We need to change how we grow the city, how we manage our growth, where we build new developments, but also how we build a transportation system around new developments so that people can get around easily, so that we have a vibrant downtown that is a place that brings the whole community together and creates opportunities in our growing diversity as a city for people to build a community here together. We have to preserve the Meewasin Valley. We have to make sure that we have health in our neighborhoods. Many, many of the things that you're all talking about are the things that I see we are perched at this moment that we need to get right, and we will talk about this evening. And so I'm running for mayor because I've learned in the last 10 years what it takes to make change happen and to move initiatives from being ideas to being reality. So I hope you will support me on October 26th so we can build the city together. Thank you.
Devin Hine.
This is about just introducing ourselves, yeah?
2 minutes, yes.
Not about our platforms or anything, yeah, okay.
You can talk about what you want.
Yeah, I'm from Saskatoon, born and raised here. Like Charlie, I love cities too. I think the country is nice too. I think one of the reasons why I'm running for mayor here is because my two co-candidates to the far right of me here, to your left, have created so much debt in this city right now and have mismanaged our economy so much that there is no room for stewardship anymore. All of the money has been spent on gigantic pet projects that they really have no control over anymore. So I think if we're going to be able to focus our city on good stewardship for the future, I think we're going to have to look at whether or not overspending is going to take more and more away from that. So one of the reasons that I'm running, and I guess it's not shared by my co-candidates, is I think our city can be a better steward of its resources. So thank you.
Kelly Moore.
Hello. Can you hear me? Yep. Excellent. Hello. I'm Kelly Moore, and I want to be your mayor. There's quite a few reasons why I'm running to be mayor. And with this particular crowd, what I want to identify is that creating a livable YXE is completely in my wheelhouse. I'm a city planner by profession and a graduate of the University of Saskatchewan in the area of regional and urban planning. And I have spent the last 20 years in this community working to improve the lives of the individuals that live here. And I've worked on a number of different projects as a city planner with the City of Saskatoon and also as a director with the provincial government in the areas of housing and also overseeing services for people with intellectual disabilities and coordinating human services. And I have had the honor of working with many of you over the years to create a great Saskatoon. And I am very grateful to have the opportunity to be here in this capacity as a mayoral candidate to talk about our future Saskatoon. And for me, all of the questions that have been asked here on the Liveable YXE Forum are exactly what we're all here to do, is to create a sustainable city. And as a planner, that is actually the mantra of sustainability. We have to ensure that we are financially responsible and accountable so that the city we create is the city that our future generations will inherit. We have to ensure our city is safe, that every member, no matter where they live, feels welcome and safe in our communities. We have to grow business and entrepreneurship and ensure that young people see opportunities, and regardless of where you are in your life, that you're able to connect and create a life for yourself and for your family. It's also about civic services and ensuring that people are satisfied with the services that they are receiving from the citizens of Saskatoon, and sustainable planning and development and growth and infrastructure. What we put in place today has to be able to be maintained for future generations, and we have to be able to afford it. So those are some of the key areas that you're going to hear me talk about tonight. And thank you for your time, and I look forward to the questions.
Do you hear well in the back? Yes or no? Yes? Okay. But I invite you, the four candidates, to speak about 10 centimeters from the microphone, so you can actually take it in your hand and pretend you're doing karaoke, perhaps. But that will be actually better. In my case, I can stay a bit farther because I speak too loud in general. All right. So we'll start. We have 16 questions. Question number 1, and we'll have, it's random here, but we selected Charlie Clark and then Don Atchison to answer this first question. But the first one will throw the chip in the glass. Out of the two other candidates will have 45 seconds. But Charlie Clark and Don Atchison have each 90 seconds. And the question is, describe a place in Saskatoon that holds special meaning to you. Charlie Clark.
Okay, well, I'm lucky enough to live within a very short walk to the river, and I have 3 children. My oldest is Simon, my middle son is Ben, and my daughter is Rachel. And when we've had a long week and we're stressed out, and especially maybe I'm stressed out from dealing with different things, we tumble down to the river and go underneath the Broadway Bridge where there's a sandbar there. And it's this amazing place to be able to go in the middle of a city and sit on the sand and have ducks go by, have boats go by, have watch the movement of the city, watch people going up and down on the Broadway Bridge. And it's this intersection between the urban and this incredible river valley that we have. And sitting by that river is always a rejuvenating experience for me, and a reminder of the power that this river holds as a unifying force in our city. And I always meet people down there and have a chance to talk and in a more calm way, in a more reflective way about this city that we live in together. And it's been a place for my children to get away from screens, to get away from all the other distractions of life and just be themselves. As soon as we get there, that's what I see them do, is to become calm and relaxed and natural. So it's a healing place, but to me it also represents the strength of what we have right here in Saskatoon.
Don Atchison.
For me, it's River Landing. When I think about it, 60 years in the making and what we've been able to do over the past 13 years, I think of Riversdale today and where it was at that particular point in time. There was, people didn't want to live in there anymore. Businesses were dying off. Today you drive 20th Street and how flourishing it is and how wonderful it is and rejuvenated and exciting for everyone. And then into the downtown area. It's so great to see that there and people come down to enjoy it. With the Persephone Theater there, soon to be the Remy Modern Art Gallery. We've got other buildings there as well, the office complex at this time. Just starting shortly will be the construction of the hotel and condominiums at that site, and then over in Quintana. The 3 founding communities together is one. I think that for me is something that's so gratifying to see that what started over 100 years ago is still flourishing and is doing so well together. I think things like that at River Landing, when people come here and they bring their friends and they talk about what a great place it is, you see children there, the MVA's been involved in the construction and the water that's there too. And overall, I think that the River Landing is something that we can all be so proud of, and for me, the River Landing is something that really does hold a special meaning to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So no one has used the chip, so unless... Oh, you want to use it? Okay, Kelly Moore, yes?
Sure.
Okay, you have 45 seconds.
My favorite spot is from the Tribute to the Children on 23rd Street, that placemaker there with the children all crawling and creating this incredible dome, all the way to the Besborough Garden. And when I thought about this question, I thought about how I've seen children play and how they gravitate to that site. And then I've thought about the Kinsman Fountain and how during my university years I used to go there and how it was so rejuvenating. My sister getting married in the back of the Besborough Garden and what an incredible experience that was, or how many concerts I've attended at the back of the Besborough, or even walking along the river with my siblings and my nieces and nephews watching the geese, and the different ducks that are right there. To me, that is the most incredible place and place making that we have in our city, and always teeming and dynamic, and I love that area. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So what we'll do is that we'll keep the applause for the end, so we'll move faster. All right. So question number 2. It's a longer one. You're already ready for the next one. Very good. Okay, well, the thing is that you're already pre-selected to answer the next question, so you can take your chip back and keep it for another question. All right. Good. I knew this would be entertaining. Okay. Think of all the things you love about Saskatoon, the places you bring your visiting family and friends, the spaces where you feel most at home. Perhaps you've taken a trip somewhere and thought, wow, that would be great to have this in Saskatoon. What do you think City Council and administration could do to foster a city that elicits feelings of pride, warmth, and excitement in both visitors and residents of Saskatoon in the near future, including heritage, culture, and tourism? That's a pretty big question. We start with Kelly Moore and then Devon Hine. And then the chip, we'll see who throws the chip first. Oh, Don Hutchison, he's fast. Okay, so Kelly Moore, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you. So Wanuskewin Heritage Park. Right now, there is a proposal to have it designated as a United Nations World Heritage Site. And I cannot think of a better place that would bring together heritage, culture, tourism into our city. And I have to acknowledge Lenore Swiston, who actually sits on my partner, who sits on the Canadian Commission for UNESCO, who will be part of the decision-making body to be able to make that dream become a reality. This is a site that, of course, is recognized by our Indigenous community and celebrates. And when you listen to Ernie and others tell the story how we almost lost this site archaeologically, and how it is one of the richest sites actually in the world, and becoming a World Heritage Site is something we can all be proud of. It will bring visitors from every corner of the world to Saskatoon. It will bring resources into our city. It'll bring pride to all of our cultures and community. It will unite us with our past, our present, and our future. It is a place that we can feel incredibly proud of. It will create employment for people, and it will also, there'll be lots of spin-offs in terms of other cultural amenities and resources. So I have to ask that every person in this room get behind designating the Wanuskewin Heritage Park as a World Heritage Site, because it will transform our city for sure, and I'm very excited about that.
Devon Hine, you have 90 seconds.
Yeah, I guess to answer the previous question as well, I love all of Saskatoon. I wouldn't give up an inch of it. I think the only parts that people identify to me that they don't like are things like lights on bridges and stuff like that. So I guess as far as what I think City Council administration could do to foster city's feelings of pride and warmth in the city, I think one of the things we could do is make sure that our citizens have the ability to build this city without City Hall interfering with it, with them and their businesses. Right now, overtaxation is going to make sure that there is no growth or no building of any sort of cultural resources or pride in this city. The more debt that's created, the higher taxes go, the less freedom we have as residents of this city and business owners to build the city the way that we would like to do that. And what you're hearing from my co-candidates here is they all have a specific vision they want to implement that is very expensive, and that's going to take more of your tax dollars away from you. We really need to make sure that we're not taking freedoms away from people and letting them build the city that they want. And that is the best thing that City Council can do to make sure that this city is something that people can have pride in and that everybody wants to see. Thank you.
Thank you. Don Hutchison, you have 45 seconds.
Okay, I too, like Kelly, believe the Wanuskewin should be a spot that we need to truly recognize. City Council did a phenomenal job in giving it a 99-year lease at that particular site. I can hardly wait for the day that we have bison roaming out there. It will bring people from all over the world to see it as the city continues to grow and prosper. Powwows are a big part of our community. They're absolutely phenomenal. And I think that we're really missing the boat on not advertising and promoting that more. I think the MVA as well, we need to keep on dealing with that, the beautiful South Saskatchewan River. I think in the wintertime, Reader's Digest gave the rink the #1 outdoor rink in all of Canada. On top of that, the river itself with the Prairie Lily and how phenomenal that is for all of us. The Children's Discovery Museum, I can hardly wait. And when you think of that being connected to the Potash Fork Playland at Kinsman Park, what a fantastic job that is for all of us. So that's where I'm at. I think those are great things that we can do.
Thank you. Question number 3. Commuting by any of the active transportation options available has many benefits in terms of health, the environment, or even from a financial standpoint. How do you most often commute to work or get around to where you need to go? If you don't have an active or partially active commute, like walking between transit stops, what would make you consider it? So we start with Don Hutchison and then Kelly Moore, 90 seconds each.
Okay, first of all, I do drive a lot, but I actually carpool an awful lot as well. I enjoy taking the transit. Seldom do I get the opportunity to take it though. I think it's still one of the best values in town. On top of it, walking, as I've been told for many, many times, when you walk, you don't have to worry about a crowd. And it's a wonderful way to be able to go from City Hall back to home. To be able to think about the day and unwind and be able to cross the river, I think is absolutely fantastic for all of us. So in the end, I think that each and every one of us needs to be able to participate in that area. And I hope that people, when it comes to taking transit, encourage their friends. We've got another question further on that we can answer more on that. But again, I think that each and every one of us needs to be able to participate in those areas. I don't know how many people have 2 cars or whatever the case is, but it seems to be the norm. In our home, we decided that 1 car was the best way to go, to in fact be far more environmentally friendly through everything. Thank you.
Yes, Kelly Moore.
Well, I happen to live in, let me grab this. I happen to live in Caswell Hill. And in Caswell Hill, it's just sort of to the west and a little bit north of downtown. I've worked in downtown for a number of years, and I also, my partner and I have a business that's over in Riversdale. And before that, it was right on 20th Street, right across from the lighthouse. So we've got a little triangle going. So I usually walk to work, and all I can say is campaigns are not conducive for walking, except when you're on the doorstep. I cannot believe how much gas I am consuming in this campaign. But for me, it's always been part of my lifestyle. I haven't really taken gym memberships in my life because I've always believed that it's important to bring activity into our lives. And I think that as a city, we have a responsibility to make sure that people are able to be active, that we're clearing our sidewalks in the winter, that we do have multimodal options such as transportation, that we are a city that supports both children as well as seniors to be able to move around. We have the curb cuts. We also have park areas both for relaxation but also recreating, and civic facilities that people can play sports and not be up till midnight to get ice time. That is part of being an active city, and being an active person has always been part of my lifestyle, and it will always be. We actually almost moved to the suburbs after my father passed away into his home, and decided that we wanted to have a more livable, sustainable home in the inner city. And it was a tough choice, but I'm glad we made that decision. Thank you.
So who will be active enough to throw the chip into the glass? Oh, no?
Do you need one of us to do
Yes.
that again? Okay.
Very good. Charlie Clark, you have exactly 45 seconds.
Well, I use all modes of transportation to get around the city. Sometimes I walk, sometimes I bicycle, sometimes I drive, sometimes I take the bus. And I think one of the things that we do have to get our heads around in Saskatoon is winter. And there are an increasingly, and I see it, increasing number of people who are commuting in the wintertime. We do overall have one of the highest rates of just single occupant car use. So by creating ways and making it easier for people, getting the sidewalks clear, but also just all the sharing and ideas and the growing culture of people who walk and bicycle to work, and working together to show that brave side of Saskatoon as a bold city where people the culture becomes such that we do that. My 45 seconds is up. I think we have a chance to show the world that just how courageous and bold we are in terms of getting out there and using it, and the city can definitely help with that.
Thank you. We move to the question number 4. The Mewasin Valley Authority is a conservation agency dedicated to conserving the cultural and natural resources of the South Saskatchewan River Valley in the Saskatoon region. Along with the Government of Saskatchewan and the University of Saskatchewan, the City of Saskatoon plays an important role in this partnership. Currently, the future of the Mewasin Valley Authority is in jeopardy due to inadequate funding. Will you advocate for a renewed and sustainable funding model that will enable the Mewasin Valley Authority to achieve its education, conservation, and trail development goals into the future? We start with Devin Hine and then Charlie Clark. You have 90 seconds each.
There's really no need for extra funding. There's the funding that was there was adequate. It was mismanaged. It was plowed into projects that created a lot of debt. Our 2 city council, ex-city council members sitting to the far right of me here, essentially decided that they had big projects that they wanted to fund, bicycle lanes along 4th Avenue, art galleries that duplicated other existing art galleries. I think a lot of the problem with why these projects are running behind in terms of money has to do with diversion of those resources away from those entities. And really, I mean, we're looking at a really bad problem of a huge debt right now, over 600 million on this city. And I think we're at the point right now where we can't afford to continue plowing this city further into debt, and that's exactly what's going to end up happening here if any one of these three candidates to my right here are elected. Their plans are very expensive. They're going to either completely focus City Hall on supporting their own private business interests, or they're going to continue to create bigger and bigger debt. So we've got to make sure that the funding is going properly into these things. So thank you.
Thank you. Charlie Clark.
The importance of the Meewasin Valley Authority is not just preserving what's already been built, but the legacy that is yet to come. We're building the commuter parkway bridge as we speak. And there is a whole new area of development that is planned all the way between Circle Drive North Bridge and the commuter parkway bridge on the east side of the river. And in order to make sure that that development follows the same principles, the same legacy, the same vision of the development that we love along the preservation of the public access, is that the MVA stays as a strong and independent regulatory body in Saskatoon. It cannot become a department of the city. That will not be a solution that will lead to the same quality and the same vision. And so as a member of both Meewasin Valley Directors, Board of Directors and City Council, this is something that I have been working on in every way I can, and advocating to cabinet ministers, to business leaders, to community agencies, working with the Keep Meewasin Vital campaign here in the city, because it's absolutely integral. The legacy is still to come. And there is also room for a renewed relationship with the city. And I believe there is a way for the city to help out and provide more support to Meewasin as well, by looking at things that otherwise the city might do, especially with the management of the Northeast Swale and other things that Meewasin could actually take over and do more efficiently than we can in many cases, but with the expertise that they have that the city doesn't. So this is a very important fight for our city right now, and I will continue to put up the fight to make sure that we see it as a strong and independent body into the future.
Thank you. I see that Don Atchison move his chip first, so you have 45 seconds.
Thank you. I believe that the MVA is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. It's an integral part of our community. The River Valley, as I said it earlier, is absolutely spectacular. I certainly have spoken to the previous minister about this situation, and after we had spoken, he agreed that we would carry on into the future of having dialogue, and that nothing was going to happen at that particular point in time. Since then, there's been a cabinet shuffle. I have been speaking to the government about it. I truly believe that the MVA is what each and every one of us love about the city of Saskatoon. On the other side too, the city has in fact put in $526,000 over the past 2 years into the MVA. We've given contracts for the River Landing, the Northeast Swale. On top of that, on a personal note, I've actually run 2 ultra marathons right now, raising money for the MVA because I think it's so important. And I believe that just not talking, but in fact getting out there and physically doing it helps too. Thank you.
Thank you. We move to question number 5. According to the Saskatchewan Urban Municipalities Association, SUMA, quote, the municipal revenue sharing program provides 1 point of the province's PST revenue to support local government operations. Cities receive 48% of these funds, despite representing 60% of the population of the province and having an economic impact that far outstrips their share, end of quote. This question is, will you lobby the provincial government to increase the portion of PST money to be proportional to urban population? And here we have Kelly Moore, followed by Don Atchison, 90 seconds each.
Bridging the last question and this question together, what I wanted to identify is that when the Meewasin Valley Authority had to close its interpretive center this year because it didn't have enough funding, the incumbent here said, we'll write a letter. And that was the extent of the direction that they took. When I announced my candidacy for mayor, I said I would meet with the premier and fight for the Meewasin. And I did have the opportunity actually to meet the new minister by chance and to have the conversation about the Meewasin. And this is how I tied into the revenue sharing. What I heard was that the view is that the revenue sharing agreement should cover some of that statutory responsibility that the provincial government has. And I think we have to be very careful when we're negotiating the statutory agreements that they don't overshadow existing arrangements that we have with the province. The Meewasin is protected through the statute, through legislation that requires all the partners to stay at the table, and we should be seeing an increase in that statutory funding to remain consistent with the inflation and with the growth of our population and the pressure that's on the Meewasin. When I think about revenue sharing with the province, I think about our future in terms of our infrastructure needs. I think about the future of our communities, our housing needs, our service needs, our transportation system, and our environment and the renewable energies and the new technologies we can adapt. So as we're negotiating some of those agreements, we have to be absolutely certain that we are working towards having an increased share for the population that we have, but that we are also making sure there's no misunderstandings about how that funding should be used and what it's used for, so that we don't find ourselves in a situation where we need funding for some projects, but it's being considered part of that revenue sharing agreement. Thank you.
Don Atchison.
Well, first of all, I just want to correct that the province does not recognize it as a municipal operating grant. That really is not where they call it. They call it revenue sharing, and that's what they are going by. The province of Saskatchewan is the only one in Canada that gives 1 cent of the PST to cities and to municipalities as a whole in Canada. Other cities and mayors have asked me, how are you able to get that done? Because we'd sure like to have what you have. And a lot of it has been done through just strictly partnerships and having those great relationships with them. Will we continue to fight for our exact percentage of the PST? Absolutely. We continue to do that. This year, the numbers will come out in 2017, February, March, and in fact, then again, we will see exactly where we're at and what percentages we should be receiving in the city of Saskatoon. All municipalities are looking for more funding all the time, but I think on a per capita basis, we need to be getting our fair share, and we've been doing very well already, but we still need to be getting more from the provincial government in the way of the per capita funding from them. And it's interesting when we hear about the MVA and that, the province hasn't cut the funding. They did not cut the funding this time, and in fact, we've been able to deal with them on that particular note already. So consequently, the stories that you hear that the funding was cut is not accurate, and we're going to continue to work with the province to make sure that the MVA is funded in an appropriate fashion. And one thing is for sure, the MVA is not going away. Thank you.
Yes, so Charlie Clark, you have 45 seconds.
This is a very critical issue for the future of this city and this province. Our provincial government's attention is not on cities as much as it needs to be. Even though Saskatchewan is becoming very much an urban province, more and more people are moving here. Even if you look at the changes they made to the budget, they did not cut rural areas, but they cut issues and that affect cities, schools, education, healthcare, a lot of those kinds of things. It is time for a mayor who joins voices with the bigger mayors in the bigger cities like Regina, Prince Albert, and makes the strong case to the provincial government that cities are our future and that we need to work together, and we can't just rely on these old models of funding in order to deal with the issues that cities are facing, because we're falling behind. And this municipal operating grant situation is just one example. 60% of the population, 40% of the revenue. That is not going to sustain what we need to do to build a strong city into the future. So we need to be strong partners, but we need to advocate much more strenuously about why this matters to everybody.
Thank you. We move to question 6. The recent oil spill into the North Saskatchewan River has posed serious challenges for smaller population centers and will have posed far greater challenges had this spill occurred during the winter. In light of this experience, what provisions would you seek to put in place at a municipal level to ensure a secure supply of drinking water for the city of Saskatoon in the event of a spill of toxic substances upstream? We start with Kelly Moore and then Devin Hine, 90 seconds each.
With respect to what happened there in Maidstone and what the impact was in the North Saskatchewan River, we shouldn't have to wait until there is a catastrophe to be able to take action. And that's one area where I know the Watershed Authority and Partners for the Saskatchewan River Basin, the Meewasin Valley Authority, and a number of other organizations are working to make sure that we're looking after our river and ensuring that we have regulations in place. We have a challenge here in Saskatoon, and it's a very, very serious challenge because our sole source of water supply is the South Saskatchewan River, and we need to be looking at other options in the event that there were ever something to contaminate that water. That is something that I am very committed to. I have spent a lot of time in various forums talking about adaptation planning. Whenever there are natural disasters or other events that result in us not being able to rely on the sources that we normally do to sustain our well-being, sustain our cities, sustain our companies, and so on. So for me, I think that we need to ensure that the regulations around environmental impact assessments are being followed. That is a provincial legislation, but we have to be thinking not just urban-centrically. We have to be thinking about the context of our city in a much bigger picture as a region, as a province, and be concerned about what happens upstream. And so we have to be looking at the developments that are occurring and ensuring that they are following environmental impact assessments to mitigate any potential contamination of our water. We also have to make sure as a city that we are taking care of our water supply and looking at ways, with gray water and reducing water consumption and so on, so that collecting rainwater, there's many different mechanisms as a city we should be adopting with respect to our own usage to ensure that we are doing everything we can to preserve that water supply, and also looking at options to tap into existing aquifers and what our alternatives are. Thank you.
Devin Hine.
Our city manages our water supply very well. Our employees are very hardworking. There is money to be saved, certainly by managing that better as well. Taxpayers will benefit from that. I don't think there's a big risk of an oil spill in Prince Albert affecting our river here. I really think there's some aspect here as well that needs to be considered about making sure that taxpayers come first. It's not just about asking for more and more money to do things when the existing budgets already cover these projects, these city hall mechanisms, these departments. There's no reason to be asking for more money. There's lots in the budget to handle these issues. Charlie Clark has had 10 years to deal with this issue. He's done nothing. And that includes anything he's talked about here. All of the stuff he says he wants to do here, it's 10 years that he's had to do it, and he's done nothing. He's achieved nothing. 20 years for Don Atchison. They've achieved absolutely nothing. All of the complaints and problems they're raising here stem exactly from their behaviors and their actions at City Hall. I think it's time that we started making sure that our employees were able to do their jobs and that the taxpayers were respected. I think it's time to make sure that taxpayers are heard. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll throw the chip between Charlie Clark and Don Atchison.
All I can tell you is there's lots of other questions here that I think are great priorities too.
Oh. Roll 'em. I'm actually going to say I think this links to the last question in a way too. Yeah. This is a wake-up call, what happened with the water and the North Saskatchewan River, and a wake-up call that the inspections weren't happening at the level that they needed to be. I want to see this city become a laboratory for the university. We need to partner with the university and figure out at that level what can we do to deal with containment. But we also need, again, a mayor who's going to be a strong voice and bring the cities together and say, we cannot afford to have this kind of thing happen to any of our cities and any of our communities. I will be a mayor who joins voices with other mayors and brings a strong case to the provincial government to say, let's work together, but make sure we have these protections in place. Otherwise, look at what the consequences would have been if this happened to this city. It would have been horrendous.
Thank you very much. We move to the next question, question number 7. UNESCO and many other organizations strongly advocate for improving citizens' climate literacy in terms of understanding the causes and impacts of human-caused climate change as part of an effective response to this critical issue. Would you commit to a local information campaign for the city of Saskatoon on the urgency of climate change and the potential cost savings that can be achieved through reduced fossil fuel use? Don Acheson, followed by Devin Hine.
Okay, on this one right here, I believe that we all believe that the climate is changing. On top of that, the hydro at the Weir is what I think is a wonderful project for us. We'd be able to get enough electricity from there to in fact power about the size of the city of North Battleford right here in Saskatoon. I believe in solar power. We're doing it on some of our buildings now already. The landfill site is another one. And I can just imagine in the future if we were able to convince people that in fact on high-rise buildings and that they put solar panels on the south sides of their buildings and site their buildings in such a way that in fact they can absorb that to help us cut down on our energy costs. Methane gas, we're already doing that at the landfill site. I think that's absolutely wonderful, and it's actually turned into a moneymaker for the city of Saskatoon, and it's created a lot of electricity for us. The transit, we're already doing that with biofuels already with the city. We were one of the leaders in that particular area, and as a matter of fact, what we found out when we were using biofuels is that it helped to reduce the cost of maintenance on our engines and that for us. Those are things that people often forget about and that we need to be sure that we understand. So those are just a few of the things that I think that are really critical for the city of Saskatoon. Education is still one of the most powerful tools that we have with the citizens of Saskatoon to in fact educate them that in fact they don't need to be doing all the things that they're doing with electricity and that all the time. And again, I think those are some of the areas that we could certainly dwell on here in the city of Saskatoon.
Thank you very much. Devin Hine.
Well, I'm glad on the last question, Charlie's finally waking up after 10 years. I think Don here just suggested an expenditure of at least probably $500 million for a hydro project. The city's already massively in debt. We don't need any more debt here. We need a little more fiscal responsibility. We don't need more committees. Certainly our city hall and its staff are more than well equipped to handle issues like this. I think building good stewardship into City Hall doesn't cost anything. It's just a matter of making sure that those issues are part of the discussion. It doesn't need to raise the cost, cause an increase in service expansion, any kind of unnecessary services, things like that. It can be done as part of our normal activity. And again, I don't think we're going to be able to do any of that if any of my 3 co-candidates are elected, because they'd either spend all their time trying to get their businesses profiting from City Hall, or through new task forces, committees, things like that, or they would just keep on forcing big projects on the residents and businesses of this city that push the city further and further into debt. So, thank you.
Thank you. We have a ship going in.
Okay.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, so Kelly Moore, you have 45 seconds.
Okay, thank you. So a couple things on this. It definitely speaks to some questions that are going to be coming up further on, but we of course have to be aware of climate change as a city and make sure citizens know. In terms of reducing impact on fossil fuels, having our active transportation plan is critical to that, and I know I'll get the opportunity to speak about my plan and what I've released on that in terms of increasing transit ridership to 20% of the mode share and so on. The other thing I want to recognize is the Saskatoon car share. Those are examples of initiatives by the community to be responsive. And I think as a municipal government, we need to celebrate and acknowledge that work. And the same thing is working with industry and ensuring that we are, when we're working there, locating businesses in ways that are efficient and close to the services. And I think that's time.
Thank you very much. And we move to the next question, question number 8. Development in Saskatoon over the past half century has centered around the movement of private cars. The Growing Forward plan has articulated that Saskatoon must shift the mode share away from single vehicle car commuting and toward active and public transportation. Not doing so will result in unmanageable congestion, increase in unsustainable infrastructure maintenance costs, and negative health externalities. Do you generally support measures such as installing protected cycling lanes, active and safe pedestrian crossings, BRT lanes, carpool lanes, and other investments that will incentivize active and public transportation and ease congestion on our roadways? And we have here Charlie Clark, followed by Don Atchison, and then Devin Hine will have 45 seconds. But first, Charlie Clark.
Well, I've heard quite a bit in this campaign about what Charlie Clark hasn't done anything over the last 10 years, and this kind of thing in repeated situations. Well, I know there's many people in this room, who I have worked with, because we know that this city can have such a better transportation network than what it has right now. Better transit, better cycling, better walking, better options for people to get around. Not only do we know we can do that, but we know we have to do that because we only have one 8th Street, we only have one 22nd Street, we only have one College Drive. We added 50,000 people to the city in the last 10 years. If we don't give people better transportation choices, we're just gonna fall down the same path as every other city. But as we've learned, changing the culture of transportation in this city has been a challenge. It's been an uphill battle. It's a cultural shift in the city, but we have to get there. And I know what it has taken. I'm proud of the work I've done to get the active transportation plan to the point that it is, to get the funding in place for the active transportation reserve, to support every step along the way, buying new buses, getting more buses in place, getting the Growing Forward plan in place with the bus rapid transit plan. And we know it takes time and it takes effort and it takes hard work. And we know we have a chance to be a city at 250,000 people that does this properly. And that's one of the reasons I'm excited about running for mayor, because of all the work you have all done and so many people have done to get this to this point. We have a chance to implement and make these changes now before it's too late.
Don Atchison.
Okay, I think one of the things we need to understand is technology is changing. One of the things that we need to be looking at is autonomous vehicles into the future. That is going to revolutionize transportation here, not only in Saskatoon, but around the world. All you have to do right now is you look into Pittsburgh with cabs and that. They're already practicing or demonstrating them with autonomous cabs in their community. You look into Europe where they have autonomous vehicles this time that they're using for buses. And I think that if you look at autonomous vehicles, they're going to increase the amount of available space anywhere from 3 times to approximately 5 times what we have today. One of the other things we need to do here in Saskatoon is move the rails out of the downtown area. We need to turn in the CP rail lines all the way from Rosewood all the way through downtown out to Montgomery into an active corridor. Just imagine how that could be hooking on to the MVA trail, taking you to the south end of the city, all the way out to Whitecap, all the way out to Wanuskewin Park, and being able to do all of that, touching the University of Saskatchewan. Those are things that there's no confrontation with vehicles or anyone else at all. The buses, we need to move to a hub and spoke system. That's exceedingly critical. The system we have today has failed us. We need to change the system that we're using. We need to get to high frequency rates. We're doing that on 8th Street right now. The reason we're not doing it on 22nd Street is because we have the rail lines there. We need to get the rail lines out in order to make bus rapid transit really effective throughout the entire city. The city is proposing to buy 40 buses over the next little while in order to upgrade our fleet and to make sure that we have more buses available for everyone. Those are things that we need to do. High frequencies will in fact encourage more people because buses shouldn't be any more than 5 to 7.5 minutes apart. When you wait longer than that, the problem is you say, I can't depend on buses. And so that's one of the things we need to do, just like they do in major centers.
Devin Hine, you have 45 seconds.
The only reason people can't depend on buses is because Charlie and Don are locking people out of their jobs for 5 weeks at a time. I think we've got to start making sure that when it comes to things like transit and getting around and employers needing their employees, that we're not electing officials that are simply just going to close the door on those opportunities for people to support their families and essentially make sure the city stays on solid foundation here. So I really think that while Charlie wants to say, you know, he wants a better system and that he's very excited all the time about this and that, you got to be careful about tokenism. He's just promising lots of things that he's had lots of opportunity to do over the last 10 years, and he just hasn't done any of it. He's very ineffective. He can't seem to do his job, and now he wants to take over another job and prove that he can't do even more. So I think the time has come. We've got to start making sure that other new voices are heard at City Hall, and I think those voices need to be the voters. Thank you.
Yes, so we move to question number 9. The recently approved active transportation plan includes an all ages and abilities network for cycling infrastructure. The AT plan identifies that this infrastructure should be implemented with capital funds over the next 10 years. Would you vote to fund the implementation of the AAA network in accordance to the AT plan? Kelly Moore, followed by Charlie Clark.
Thank you. The first thing I want to say is that I do acknowledge that Mr. Clark has made an effort over the past 10 years to make improvements. What my argument is about, though, is that we missed the boat in turning the ship around every time we approved a new neighborhood in the suburbs for development. And right now we have 4 or 5 neighborhoods sitting on the outskirts of our city that we can't afford. For every neighborhood that's developed, 10% of that cost isn't recovered. It goes back onto the tax base, and we have to change how we grow. And the challenge for us is going to be trying to implement an active transportation system when over the past 10 years, under both the incumbents, we have record debt and we have record tax increases. And the fact of the matter is that we're going to have to make some very tough choices about our city. I've been on the public record to say that we have to make sure that we're careful on the pacing of our growth. And with our Saskatoon land branch, what we've created, Saskatoon Land, is a dependency because we're actively involved in the land development business, which means we rely on that revenue in order to be able to fund other expenses in the city of Saskatoon. And we've created a bit of a monster because we are pushing growth, and that growth has happened under these 2 leaders. And we do need somebody who understands planning, who understands sustainable development to be able to course correct some of the mistakes that have happened over the past 10 years. My commitment is ensuring that we do have an active transportation plan, but we have to be able to afford it. We have to look at where our priorities are, and I'll be speaking hopefully here too along being able to invest along the active transportation corridors, being able to have the rapid bus system, being able to have a high frequency system, densifying around those areas. I've also implemented my growth strategy, which identifies 5 different policy initiatives to be able to ensure that we are growing inward and upward as opposed to outward. So Saskatoon is financially more sustainable for its citizens, and it's also a more livable city for its citizens. Thank you.
Charlie Clark.
Yeah, and that's the argument. I have not done these things, and I guess I just would ask anybody to look at my record and see the work I've done to change the way we're growing our city, and that I've pushed at every point along the way how to make sure to do that. I'm 1 councillor out of 11. I do not have a veto over neighborhoods. I do know that Kelly Moore did say when she was interviewed about this, she thought the neighborhoods shouldn't have been built in the first place. When we've added 50,000 people to the city, you have to make these changes through a very strategic and approach, and it has been a culture change to address this, including to have an active transportation plan. When I first got elected 10 years ago, the idea of active transportation was a very end of the list issue that nobody would put any attention into. And over time, I built up an active transportation reserve so that we had dedicated funding, because every time we would look at anything to do with active transportation before that, it was haphazard, inconsistent, and we changed that through working with many of you here. And then we realized issues were coming in, like 23rd Street Bikeway would come in, and then there would be some changes in downtown, and then there'd be changes on 17th Street, and it was also haphazard, which I saw is not serving our city. We have to have a whole network in place so that any investments we make in active transportation fit together in a plan. So we pushed for an active transportation plan, working with many of you, against all odds, people who would vote against those measures, people who would fight against making these changes. This is what it takes to make change in our city.
Thank you. Who will throw the chip? Ooh, yes, you are? Yes, okay. Devin Hine, yes, you put it in your glass. Huh? Do you want to say something, Devin Hine? It's good? All right. Well, that's fine. We move to the next question, which is very short. Question number 10. What is your overall vision for the future of Saskatoon's public transportation system? Don Atchison, followed by Charlie Clark.
I think first of all, we need to get to a hub and spoke system, the high frequency that I just talked about a minute ago. You need to have a system that's anywhere from 5 to 7.5 minutes, the absolute maximum on your main corridors. That's 8th Street, 22nd Street, 33rd Street. People down in the north end of the city using Warman, Wanaskewin. Those are all things that are exceedingly critical to get people to use transit on a regular basis. On top of that, we need to be able to have these hubs and spokes where people are able to come in and use them on a regular time as well. The other part with this too is we do have to get rid of the rails. Without getting rid of the rails through the city of Saskatoon, high frequency will not work, because when you have trains that are 4 miles in length, it is not possible to get to the other end with the buses, because you got to sit there and you got to wait, and you're going to be waiting 15, 20 minutes, and it just doesn't work. So those are some of the things that we need to do in that particular area. Other things that we need to do also, again, is on the active corridor area that I'm talking about, is removing the rail lines and putting in cycling. I think that that is just going to be a phenomenal area for us. We'll be only one of a few cities, perhaps anywhere in North America, that would have an opportunity to do that with all these connections in place. So again, those are things that need to happen. The other part we need to do is with our actual service in evenings. I think, again, people that are in low-income jobs, they're the ones that use transit the most, and we need to be able to get to them, even if it's a shortened system, not into all the neighborhoods, but again, using hubs and spokes, whatever the case might be, is what we need to do, and we need to make sure that it's running 365 days of the year.
Charlie Clark.
Well, the only problem with spending $1 billion+ to get the rail lines out of the yard to make cycling networks through there is that there still won't be safe ways to get people to and from those rail lines that would be running through the city. So if we're going to spend money on transportation, we need to get the most bang for our buck for all of the citizens. And that, we cannot spend it on a huge mega project like that and still create all of these networks. When it comes to transit, we had a really excellent hour and a half at City Council this spring with Jarrett Walker, who wrote the book Human Transit, who is really one of the preeminent thinkers on transit in all of North America. And he identified it very clearly, and it's something that we've been working towards. I've been working towards for 10 years as a councillor. Every neighborhood we design has to be more facilitate transit, not to have a one street meandering into it that goes through and winds around and is hard to service, but that has a corridor down the middle with density along it. I've been fighting for this for a long time. It's what's happening with Aspen Ridge, it's what's happening with Elk Point, it's what's happening now with the neighborhoods that are being designed. So we've made some of those changes, and we need the frequency. We need to put people along the transit corridors if transit's actually going to work. You can't just try and serve everybody all throughout the system with long meandering routes. It's all about creating more frequent trips for the people who are most likely to use it. And that's, we have to design and link land use with transit planning, and we can do it. It's going to be challenging to carry forward, but we can if we do it now and we implement the bus rapid transit plan, which is the blueprint.
Devin Hine, 45 seconds.
Maybe if Charlie spent less time reading books from Harvard authors and more time not locking transit workers out for 5 weeks, it might be great. But both of them, both Charlie and Don, have committed to a light rail transit system that'll cost at least $700 million to implement. That's a huge bump in the debt the taxpayers are going to be on the hook for, and they don't want to talk about that. Just 10 years of all kinds of these same promises that they made 10 years ago, or in Don's case, 20 years ago. Not one single iota of any kind of real change or movement in the directions that these people that they're talking about now. So I wouldn't buy into it. I don't think taxpayers should, and certainly the time has come for respect for taxpayers. It's time to hold the line on taxes. We don't need all these big plans that they're suggesting. We need to be fiscally responsible, and we need to make sure that this city is not going to push its businesses and its residents under. And Charlie Clark pitting residents and businesses against each other, trying to suggest a scarcity, it's wrong. Thanks.
Question number 11. With upwards of 20,000 people now accessing emergency food hampers each month, what are your policy plans for improving the food security of Saskatoon residents? We start with Kelly Moore and then Devin Hine for 90 seconds each.
Just before I touch on that, I just want to acknowledge the point that Mr. Clark had said around me saying I wouldn't do any suburban development. That is unequivocally, absolutely untrue. What I was talking about was the pace at which we released land for sale. Of course, we need to have development, but we also need to make sure that we have the incentives inside our city so that we see development going inward and upward as opposed to outward. And what we did is we emulated completely what the city of Calgary had done. We need to learn from our other cities that have been through these growth spurts to make sure we're being sustainable. And I believe that if we had been more sustainable in our growth pattern and been awake at the wheel as opposed to asleep at the wheel, we would see more food access within our city. The challenge is we have businesses within the city of Saskatoon, within the core and intermediate neighborhoods, competing right now with suburban centers and super centers that is almost impossible to compete with. And we had to put these incentives in 10 years ago, 5 years ago, before we got to the situation that we created a food desert. For me, it is absolutely important that we prioritize bringing a food store into downtown and into the core neighborhoods. It has to be that people can access food and affordable food wherever they live. It is a basic right, and the quality of food needs to be good, not junk food, not max food, but I mean quality fresh vegetables, fresh foods. And there has been lots of good work done by many organizations in this room, to make that possible, doing the food hampers, but also the child hunger education program, and all of these different groups. The community gardens have gone a very long way. But I have proposed incentivizing infill development so that we can bring more residents down, so it can be more economically viable in order to get more service and businesses such as food stores to be able to address the food desert we have in Saskatoon. Thank you.
Devin Hine.
Yeah, it's you'll hear food desert, you'll hear all these terms, but I'm going to introduce a concept that none of my three co-candidates have talked about here at all. What you tax, you discourage. And there used to be two giant grocery stores down 20th Street, which were taxed to the point where they left. And now we have two properties that are basically tax-free there. If you want to talk about the solution, you can vote for Devin Hine. He'll hold the line on taxes right here. I'm telling you right now that's no problem. We're going to make sure taxes are fair so businesses want to stay in these communities, including grocery stores. That is the solution to food deserts. And the solution that Kelly Moore just suggested here is not a solution to food deserts at all. It's just talking, and it's just basically the same stuff that you're hearing from the other two candidates. And all of their plans are either going to end up, again, either co-opting their private businesses to do work for council at their personal benefit, or they're going to create more debt for this city. It's really terrible that my two co-candidates to the far right here have been talking about this stuff for so long and have done nothing about it. Again, what you tax, you discourage, and that's why we have food deserts. It's not because of any other thing than just simply the horrible amount of tax increases that these three candidates are proposing here. You'll see your taxes go up at least 20 to 25% if any one of these three are elected. And it is time for the City Hall to respect taxpayers. We've got to start making sure that when it comes to things like making sure grocery stores are available to communities, that we're providing a fair tax situation, that those businesses want to stay in those communities. So thank you.
Thank you. Don Hutchison, 45 seconds.
Thank you. Well, first of all, when we talk about this on Monday, we were at Friendship Inn doing the Thanksgiving dinner. The people were lined up inside all the way out the door. to Avenue G, basically for a good hour. The lineup was there for an hour and 45 minutes in total. I think some of the things we need to do that we have been doing already is we need to create the conditions for everyone to have a good paying, livable wage here in Saskatoon. Those are things that are really critical to help with food security. Other things that we've been doing in the city already is we've had community gardens. All you have to do is look at Dutchess and 3rd Avenue that we have there with the food bank already. That has been absolutely a phenomenal program. On top of that, we need to take all our other vacant lots in the city, which we have been doing, which we put a ceiling on the amount of funding we'll put into place for that right now. A year-round greenhouse food for the food bank needs to be done as well. High density downtown as well will certainly help us get a grocery store downtown.
Thank you. Question number 12. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission has called on all municipal governments to fully adopt and implement the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples as the framework for reconciliation. Will you accept this call to action and advocate for the City of Saskatoon to adopt and implement the UN DRIP at a municipal level? If so, what is your vision for reconciliation at this level of government? We start with Charlie Clark and then Kelly Moore.
I think Saskatoon has a real opportunity to show tremendous leadership in being a city that sorts out what a true relationship is between the Indigenous and the non-Indigenous population. We are a city that has among the highest Indigenous populations in the country, and we are a city that's filled with leaders within those communities that are wanting to and ready to step up and participate in partnership. We have urban reserves, we have First Nations that are investing in land around this city, we have a university that is embracing indigenization, and we have the opportunity to really move this forward. I supported and have advocated for the city to adopt the Truth and Reconciliation recommendations that are relevant to the cities, which include education and awareness for our own employees, which includes looking at how we support education, employment, land development, all these things in partnership. And it needs to start rippling right through everything, our workplaces, our neighborhoods, our sports opportunities that happen out in the community. And the mayor has a chance to really set the tone for this, to sit down with those leaders, both young and old within our community, and faith leaders, and leaders from our growing diversity of ethnic communities who are all interested in wanting to participate. And one of the things that excites me about being the mayor of this city is to help move that conversation forward in a productive way so that we can show tremendous leadership across the country in how to build this relationship.
Kelly Moore.
One of my priorities and my future vision with respect to truth and reconciliation and the recommendations of the Commission is that we formalize a nation-to-nation governance structure between our Indigenous leaders and the City of Saskatoon, and recognize that we need to be including our Indigenous leaders and our community in the decisions that are being made at City Hall. And for me, that starts with being able to have the formal structure, to sit down at the same tables, to have a shared agenda, to be working together on items of sustainable growth, on items of employment, on items of education, on training, on inclusion, on safety. Those are all things that I see us working side by side on a regular basis. We do have an incredible amount of talent in this city in the Indigenous community. I was incredibly inspired by the World Indigenous Business Forum and the entrepreneurs and the business leaders here in this city. SREDA, the Saskatoon Regional Economic Development Authority, recently identified that there's $1 billion of economic development opportunity in Saskatoon by reaching out and embracing the partnerships with the Indigenous community. And I see the recommendations from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission as a foundation of working together. I want to sit down with the Indigenous leaders to find out what the priority recommendations are for them and what we should be working, because you always have to have priorities at step 1, step 2, step 3, in order to be able to make the biggest impact in our city and truly bring together a unified, inclusive, nation-to-nation Saskatoon. So I'm very committed to that commission and that work. We have to start the process of healing, and we need to be doing that together as a society and as Saskatoonians. Thank you.
Devin Hine, do you want to use this chip? You have to use them all.
I have to use them all?
Yes. See, you're too frugal.
It's pressure.
Yeah? You want to say something too?
Yeah, I guess, you know, obviously this issue addresses whether or not we're going to create more dependencies on City Hall of people that should be enjoying more freedom all the time. What I'm hearing is programs here that really want to increase the dependency of Indigenous people on City Hall. And I don't understand what that motivation comes from, because it really doesn't make sense. Unless your business is going to profit from that activity. And certainly there has been a contract that you have accepted from the city in these areas, and you could not sit on any of those committees, Kelly, if you wanted to, because it would be a conflict of interest, and you and your family members would benefit from that activity. It really doesn't make sense. So, thank you.
Thank you. Question number 13. The World Health Organization has published extensively on the essential requirements of an age-friendly city, ranging from issues around accessibility of outdoor spaces and buildings to issues around social inclusion and access to information. Will you work with older adults and community organizations in order to put in place a positive aging strategy aimed at the age-friendly Saskatoon? Creating an age-friendly Saskatoon. Charlie Clark, followed by Devin Hine.
Well, I think we really benefit from a very strong organization in Saskatoon, the Saskatoon Council on Aging, which has, through work within the community and with the city, developed a whole set of policies around an age-friendly city. And I've learned a lot from talking with the Council on Aging and learning about these issues, because Saskatoon is going to see a real growth in the number of people who are senior citizens and aging in this community. And so making sure this is a city that people can continue to live a healthy life, continue to not become isolated and lonely and separated from society as they get aged, to be able to stay in their homes as long as they can, to be able to live an active life in the community is going to be crucial. And so I believe that this will benefit the whole city. It will also benefit our healthcare system, to make sure that we are doing the things to make sure our sidewalks are safe so that people can get around. Our transit system by 2018 will be fully accessible so that anybody can get on our buses without getting on stairs. That's going to be a key step to creating that kind of accessibility, that people have access to the leisure programs and the events and the activities that get them out of their houses and into communities, and that we're working again and advocating to the provincial government to make sure these things all fit together with the healthcare system, with the care homes, and the programs and services that the city can bring to the table to make sure people can live as meaningful lives as possible throughout their lives.
Very good. We move now to Devin Hine.
Yeah, I'm sure that Don and Charlie gave a lot of thought to a 90-year-old senior rolling a plastic garbage can out to the curb in the middle of 3 feet of snow and 30 below weather when they pushed that on them too. One of the problems that is happening here is if we have a tax increase, seniors who are living on fixed incomes are not going to be able to withstand that. It's too much extra burden on seniors. We've got to start making sure that we're not raising taxes on our senior citizens and other people that are on fixed incomes. Seniors just don't have the room in their budgets to withstand another Don Atchison and Charlie Clark tax increase. And I think you'll see in the next few days here, I'm gonna put out some press releases that are gonna show how bad this problem really is with the debt. You're really gonna see some very amazing, very terrible sort of overspending that is going on by Don and Charlie here, and it's gonna cost seniors a lot. It's gonna raise taxes 20 to 25% over the next 4 years of the the term of the council here. So there is a way to avoid that. We've got to start making sure that our budget right away, right from the very beginning, essentially is defined as not going to increase taxes, that we're going to exercise fiscal restraint at City Hall, and that we're going to protect our seniors from that increase, which by far affects them more than anything else. And all of the gigantic talk and excitement of Charlie Clark is not going to change the fact that his plans are going to impact seniors in the most negative way possible. And it is time for City Hall to return to a state of fiscal responsibility, and that includes not adopting the 3 plans that are sitting to the right of me here. Thank you.
Okay, so Kelly Moore, 45 seconds.
Yesterday, I was talking to a good friend of mine, and that's Jennifer Keesmat, and she is the chief planner at the City of Toronto. And we were exactly talking about the age-friendly Saskatoon, the Council on Aging, and being able to make sure that Saskatoon is indeed an age-friendly city. And what I, as a planner and as a person committed to a sustainable city, want to see is a city that is friendly from 8 to 80, where no matter where you are in that spectrum, that you're able to access the services and amenities that you need, that you're able to get to the shops, that you're able to get to the bus stops, that you're able to participate in the parks. We fundamentally need to see Saskatoon as a place that can be navigated no matter where you sit in that age group. And that is something that we can shift the lens. There's organizations, an 8 to 80 organization, and we need to adapt a model like that. And so you put that lens on everything, and it changes how people can live in our city and get around, and it's far more friendly. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have 3 questions left, and it's 8:25. So now if you speak 1 second above the time you allocated, I will cut you off. All right, because we need to get these 3 questions done. Okay, I've been generous with everyone so far, but now we have to be very disciplined. Question number 14. The stabilization emergency shelter at Lighthouse Supported Living in downtown Saskatoon was first created to provide an alternative shelter option for intoxicated individuals in order to take pressure off of existing detox facilities, hospitals, and police cells while keeping people safe. The Saskatchewan government recently announced that it is cutting funding to Lighthouse Shelter. Will you advocate at all levels of government for stable long-term funding for the Lighthouse to ensure the safety and well-being of all Saskatoonians, including intoxicated or at-risk individuals who have no other safe and accessible shelter? We start with Devon Hine, followed by Dawn Hatchison.
The warehousing people is never a good option. It's not really helpful to just simply take people that are committing crimes and put them in shelters. If they're committing crimes, they definitely need to be addressed by the justice system. And putting them into a building where nobody's going to address some of the things that are creating real problems for the victims that are coming across these situations is not good. For the people that legitimately need assistance, we've got to start making sure that the city is not putting undue tax pressure on them. We've got to start making sure that we're not going to essentially push them out of their apartments. Every time a tax increase is implemented, you're going to see your rent go up like $50 a month. Your condo fees will go through the roof. It's the pressure is put on senior citizens in their homes because of those property tax increases. And you end up with people ending up getting basically warehoused in very, very unfortunate situations like the Lighthouse. I think we've got to do more to make sure that our economy functions properly so that these people can have a place of their own, and certainly the services that help them don't need to be centered in a building where they're warehoused. Those people can get access to those services anywhere. Thank you.
Yes, we move to Dawn Hatchison.
Well, first of all, the Lighthouse was set up for assisted living, and the property was going to be taken back for tax arrears. And it's interesting, the vote was going to be 6-5 to take it back for tax arrears each and every time. I voted every time that not to do that. And the one person on council that was never there when the vote was taken, so it was 5-5, so it was a draw, so we never got the property back from the people that ran the Lighthouse. The next thing is I have been talking to the province of Saskatchewan already. That's critical, and they understand that. They understand that something needs to be done. and we're going to continue to push with them to make sure that something is done. People that have drug and alcohol problems do not belong in cells. I can tell you that right now. They need other assistance, other help. Putting them in the cells and treating them like criminals is exactly what they don't need. What they need is other social help along the way. And that's what we're planning on doing, and that's what we've been dealing with the province of Saskatchewan on. On top of that, the other thing that we need to do is we need to talk to those people that are living there right now, or were living there, more important. Is that the location that they want to be in? Let's find a solution that, in fact, is going to work for everyone. More important for those that were using the site, and I use the word were because they're not there anymore. And we need to make sure that everyone has good, clean, safe, warm accommodations here in the Saskatoon. It doesn't matter who you are, we all belong to one race, and that's the human race.
Okay, who wants to, yes, use the last chip? It's Charlie Clark.
The decision to cut the lighthouse, access to the lighthouse, is one of the worst things that we've seen happen in this community for a long time, because, and I don't disagree with some comments that have been made, is the lighthouse model perfect? No, it is not, because you have a lot of people living in one site, but there's no alternative right now in this community, and those people who are getting cut with access to the lighthouse are going to end up on the streets, in ATM machines, on our riverbanks. It's getting colder, and there was no plan in place with the provincial government for what to do. And so we absolutely need to pull this community together, and the mayor can play a key role in bringing the leadership within this community together to make as strong a case to the province that they need to come on board and create a more coordinated system of care. I've been doing that with the Plan to End Homelessness, and we have to make progress on this if we're going to address these issues in a serious way as a community.
Penultimate question. What policies and strategies would you put into effect to mitigate the negative impacts of gentrification in our city? Charlie Clark, followed by Devin Hine.
Well, there's been a very dynamic discussion about gentrification in Riversdale and Saskatoon, and I've been following it, and I've been aware of it, and I've been actually trying to study and see from other cities what are the ways you can try and address, as a neighborhood goes through change, the ways to not have the amount of displacement. One of the key things is that you have to make sure there continues to be affordable housing within that area, and you don't allow all the affordable available housing to be pushed out. You need to have businesses and access to opportunities within the area that are of all levels of income and opportunity. And you need to make sure that within that community, the relationships are being built amongst all the people, so you don't have the experience of one population being moved out while another one moves in. And it's a delicate process, and in the way that cities develop and operate, evolve over time, as neighborhoods do change. And so it's a process that a city cannot engineer, but you can make sure that the housing exists, you can make sure that the services are still available for people within the community, and you can try and foster that relationship building among the different parties and the players and the people who are building and developing a new neighborhood within a neighborhood as it develops. And so I have not supported the idea that we have to remove all the services out of Riversdale, and I have not supported that we should reduce the number of low-income rental housing opportunities available in Riversdale.
Devin Hine.
Charlie says he's following and studying and seeing the same thing he's been doing for 10 years. He's really good at following and studying and seeing, but at the end of the day, he's committed in the past to basically controlling developers that would be involved in community changes. All three of my co-candidates here, in fact, all have very distinct plans for forcing developers to develop only where they want them to. And you've got to let businesses, developers, choose those projects properly. Otherwise, that growth is going to be stalled. It's going to be ended. And I think we're at the point now where when we're trying to focus either on older communities or suburbs, those are not the right questions. We've got to start making sure again that we've got freedom enough in the market that those developers can help our city grow. And they do know how to grow the city. They have good interests at stake when it comes to choosing where they're going to build or where they're going to develop or where they're going to renovate. And forcing them to follow the lines of three people is not going to help them with their future prosperity or the prosperity of this city. So it's really a question of whether or not we're supporting plans that are going to take freedom away from businesses, create more taxes, more debt, or whether we're going to let this city grow on its own. Thank you.
Yes, Don Atchison, it's your last chance to use your last chips.
I use mine.
You put yours
Yes,
forward?
I did. Okay.
Go.
Thank you.
Yes. 45 seconds.
Gentrification is prevented through good public policy. And the role of the municipal government is to ensure that it has good policies to ensure that it preserves the existing character of the neighborhood, having affordable housing and a mix of ownership as well as rental units, having a mix of employment opportunities, and ensuring ideas like incubators. I love the expression of nooks and crannies. We need to preserve areas where small businesses and entrepreneurs can come out of their home and foster and grow and develop. You need to preserve those and protect them when new developments come in. You also need to make sure that you have strong communities and community associations. And those are things that can be policies and strengthened through the municipal government. I've spent many years working on that. Thank you.
Don Atchison, I will let you use your last chip, 45 seconds.
Thank you. First of all, I think we need to have good, clean, safe, attainable housing for everyone. It doesn't matter where they are. They need to have that right off the bat. Children shouldn't have to live in homes where there is no hot or cold running water. They shouldn't be living where there's snowbanks in their house in the wintertime. They need to have clothing that in fact is suitable for them. We need to have rental points that are balanced throughout the entire community. That doesn't mean all the rich people live in one area and all the poor people live in another area. That means having a balance throughout the entire city and every single neighborhood. Everyone needs to have hope and opportunity that they too can succeed in life. Children need to be able to get to school. Look at what we did in St. Mary's and how the population there has more than doubled since we changed the school over there. Things like that make a tremendous difference in our city.
Thank you very much. We move to the very last question. As the future leader of Saskatoon, how do you envision the city, the way that our community looks, works, and feels in 20 years from now? Broadly, what is your vision for the future of Saskatoon? It's Don Atchison, followed by Kelly Moore, and then Devin Hine will have 45 seconds after that because he still has one chip to spend.
Okay. All right. I imagine a city of 10 to 15,000 people living downtown. The city yards, what a tremendous asset that we have there. And eventually we're going to get that all moved out south of the city to the Civic Operations Center. I see living areas there. I see high rises over on the 33rd Street in a waterfall effect all the way down to 25th Street in that particular area. Parks in that area, active transportation, hooking on to a wonderful corridor of active transportation that goes all the way, just imagine this, all the way from Riversdale, Briarwood, Arundel, Arbor Creek, Sutherland, University, downtown City Park, all the way over to Riversdale, Caswell Hill, all the way up Meadow Green, right to Montgomery. If you can imagine that, how people are going to be able to use that and be able to enjoy themselves all throughout the year. Imagine having an area of the city as well that in fact we have the river landing completed. Imagine that with all the wonderful amenities that we're going to have there in the end. Everyone needs to have hope and opportunity in our community. We need to have a community that's safe and secure for everyone. On top of that, if you think of the population where we're at today, before long, we will in fact be 500,000 people. We need to make sure that we have the right type of housing, the right type of businesses throughout the city of Saskatoon. Everyone should have the choice to live where they want to. It shouldn't be dictated by bureaucrats and telling them they have to have a cookie cutter approach where they're going to live and what type of home they're going to live in either. That's a city that we want for people to come from, to live here, where we have created over 50,000 jobs in 10 years and 90,000 people in 15. Thank you.
Kelly Moore.
For me, when I think about the future, I see Saskatoon being a sustainable city. I see us having, of course, preserved the Meewasin Valley Authority and having the statutory funding meeting the growing needs of our city. I see the Wanuskewin being designated as a World Heritage Site. I see our downtown booming and having the residential development, and I've put in my platform policies to make that happen, not just concepts, but real policies to be able to make that occur. I see Riversdale, of course, Broadway, 33rd Street, and all of those critical corridors and small business areas thriving. I see Saskatoon being a leader in small business and entrepreneurship, and it's a place where mid-sized and large businesses want to locate because of it's an economic development engine for people, and it has strong schools, it has good educational institutions, and it has a strong community fabric where people feel that they are connected and they can make a difference in our city. I see partnerships with the institutes, the Gabriel Dumont, Saskatchewan Indian Institute for Technology, Sask Polytech, and the university, and growing the trades as well as the innovations that are at the university. And I see a strong nation-to-nation partnership and governance structure between the City of Saskatoon and the Indigenous community, and that our newcomers feel welcome and are able to access our services, and that we have the ability to move people through housing, through employment, and through the services that they need. Thank you.
Devin Hine, 45 seconds.
I see a city that's not taxed to death by three talkers who simply want to put more burden on taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to the candidates, and I welcome Sandra back to the podium to conclude this forum.
I told you it would be exciting. Democracy is exciting. Thank you to Dr. Béland and to all the candidates for such a lively forum. It was so insightful and provocative forum for this exchange of ideas. I'd also like to thank all of my fellow Liveable YXEers for your hard work in pulling this together, along with our partners, and I thank the library for hosting us. Shaw has recorded this session, so if you have friends and family who weren't able to come, they'll have an opportunity to watch it on Shaw. I encourage you again to check out our website, liveableyxe.ca, and of course, please get out and vote October 26th. Advanced polls start this Saturday, and the city website has a lot of information to help you navigate how you can do that. And thank all of you for coming out and supporting a livable city. Good night. The library closes promptly at 9, so if you have anything you need to discuss, you have to take it outside.